There we go. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Mudwalkers. Today we have a guest. This is Michael Douglas, the author of a new book that we'll be discussing today. How you doing, Mike? Michael?
I'm doing well.
Michael.
Publishing a book is such a surreal experience, especially when you have all of these promotional events coming at once. I mean,
Yeah.
I just got word that Aging for Eden, Phil Oak, has published his book, and I was reading through it and I saw my name in there
Wow.
twice. So, and then 3 weeks ago, the Naturist Living Show released my episode with being interviewed in my books.
Yeah,
So totally.
very jealous.
So I am still in the midst of this. I wrote this book. I mean, I feel just like Woody after he lit the rocket and he's sitting on the RC car with Buzz. I just wrote a book and
It's
books now explode. So
sorry, something came unplugged on my end.
yeah.
It's great to talk to you. Let's get right into the. Now something's popping up on my screen. This is the part of interviews that the big channels don't show. Okay, there.
Yeah.
So we went over the questions already. So Michael already knows all the stuff that's coming. But tell me about your testimony. How did you come to the Lord?
Well, I was raised in a Christian household, and from the earliest days that I can remember, I have always been memorizing Bible verses. I've been reading from the Bible. I mean, I still remember going to summer camps and all of the traditional Christian stuff that a family does when you have young children and you're trying to get them to be raised up in the way that children can have a firm knowledge of who Jesus is.
Yeah, sounds a lot like my upbringing. I was raised kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So you don't have like a firm time when you like remember.
No, I don't have that firm time when that happened of, oh, I guess I now need to make this decision for myself. And I mean, the closest that I can come to that is right when I was taking the bar exam. And as you know, the bar exam is the big test for lawyers. In order to become a licensed lawyer, you have to take it and you have to pass. And of course, as anyone, I felt a great amount of fear and worry about, was I going to pass this test on the first try? And
Yeah.
something came to me at that moment. And I felt this sense of immense peace about it. And God basically calmed me with the verse from Joshua 1:9. Be strong and very courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you may go. Now, that verse, as we know, is to Joshua when he's getting ready to enter the promised land. I wasn't getting ready to enter a promised land. I wasn't going to have to pick up a sword or a shield and go fight. No, I was just going to have to sit down and take a test.
Yeah.
And all of the subsequent verses that came to me were about that experience of God help them enter the promised land. He's going to help you through your experience.
Yeah.
So that is the one time where I felt that it finally crystallized for me and said, wow, this is actually a memorable event that I can trace to having Jesus in my life.
Yeah, he does have quite that track record. Regardless of what people are going through, he stands with us for sure. Ancient Israel, and then you have the New Testament. Whatever it is people are going through, he's right there with them. So, what do you remember about your journey into naturism? So you grew up Christian already. So this journey into naturism may have been kind of interesting. Mine had a lot of conflict associated with it because of my super conservative parents. But I don't know a whole lot about your story into naturism. Was this also kind of something that was all kind of always there? Or was it something that was kind of like a revelation at some point?
So my journey into naturism it takes a rather long time for me to first visit a nude resort and then write a book after that. But my journey into naturism started in 2005 when I was home one summer day and I was just browsing the internet and something said that I should start looking, and so I typed keywords into Google about nudism. I don't know why I did it. All I know is that I did it. I found the American Association for Nude Recreation and I researched a bit about them and found other sources, the Fig Leaf Forum, uh, and various other Christian naturist sources, and I began to read, began to understand that there is nothing wrong with being a Christian naturist.
Mm.
And it would take many, many years for that seed that was first planted back in 2005 to develop into the full-blown tree of I am finally able to go to a nude resort because of my life circumstances. It's not that I did not have the desire, but at the time that I first found nudism, I was still in high school and I did not drive anywhere for myself because of a medical condition that later left. So because of those life circumstances, I graduated high school, went on to college, and I still didn't start driving until after I graduated law school.
Oh, wow.
So so even though I had the desire within me, I had no real way to say, let's go to Cypress Cove, to Lake Como, to Hollow Beach. I had no practical way of doing that. And to explain to another person why you would want to do it without having that first experience for yourself is kind of like, what are you talking about? How do you know that this is something that isn't going to get us hurt, embarrassed, shamed, killed, all of the negative fear led emotions? So I had to wait until I was on vacation in 2018 when I was out in California.
Oh, wow.
I did not go in 2018. I had planned to go, but I waited until 2019 when I went back to California, and that was when I first went to a nude resort.
Which one did you go to?
Glen Eden.
Glen Eden? Was that in the
Yeah.
book? I might have forgotten that. I'm not so
Yes.
good with the details.
Well,
Cool.
I when I wrote the fictionalization, that was it was all based around that experience.
Mm.
Those 3 days with the name of the resort taken out, with the name of the particular people taken out, basically you have my experience. And the reason why I did it that way is so that it's more relatable to you. So you can say that and say, oh, I can take this and I can go and I'll have a similar experience.
Yeah.
Again, you can go halfway across the country, and for you, that would be in northern Minnesota. That would be in Michigan. That would be in Wisconsin.
Wherever, yeah. Wherever people in
Wherever.
the country, they can take that and run with it, talk about how that kind of similar experience is accessible to people no matter where they are, pretty much. So,
Yes.
like, once you got into naturism, you were in it for a while. That was so. It's been a few years now. Do the people in your life, like your family, friends, church people, do they like know you're a naturist? Like, if they do, how did you deal with that?
Well, I have found it much easier. I haven't told everyone who's in the pre-existing circle, so family largely does not know. Friends, the friends that I have told that are pre-existing do not know. And the reason why is because the first friend that I told did not give me a positive response. I invited her to come with me when I was writing the book. I hadn't yet been to Cypress Cove at that point. I invited her to come with me, and she did not respond positively to the idea. So that told me to kind of tread lightly to this whole idea of let's tell family, let's tell friends who you already know. And of course, the Bible references some of this feeling with the verse, a prophet has no honor in his hometown. It is fairly difficult for people who've known you for a long time to get the idea of, oh, let us completely change our perception of him by adding in this new element, which I feel has some inherent tension to my pre-existing beliefs. I haven't told friends that or the friends who I meet now. Yes, I tell them, and the context in which I tell them is, hey, I wrote this book. And the nice thing about not having a biography on the back is you can use that same line. Because there's no biography on the back, it's here. As a person I want to meet, I can give you this book
Hmm.
and tell you about me, tell you about naturism, and tell you about how I love pizza and how I love politics and how I am a great lawyer and all of the fun things that go around it. And it will be easier for you to accept because I have a book. I've written a book. People are
Yeah.
often impressed with that. Here, read this book.
Hmm. Yeah, writing,
And
actually publishing a book, it sounds like that would give you a whole different foot in the door than just telling someone, hey, I'm a nudist.
yeah,
Like, it'd be very different.
and so that was actually why I wanted to write the book. I wanted to write the book because, like I said, I was out in California and I live in the greatest state of Florida. Call it the greatest state because we have the most nude resorts and
Yeah.
we can we can watch rocket launches at Cypress Cove. Every space that's launched here from Florida, we can watch that from Cypress Cove.
I
Every
remember
single
talking to this guy at Cypress Cove when I was there this year, and he was talking about the rocket launches as well. That's cool.
yes, yes. So I was out in California. I was there specifically in 2019 to hang out with a friend. And keep in mind, I met this friend online. We had been talking online since before I graduated law school.
Oh, wow.
Graduated in 2015. So at that point, we had been talking for 4 years. I'd gone to meet her in 2018. That was our first time meeting in person. We talked for 3 years online. We met in person in 2018. I went to the Reagan Library out there. I went to the Nixon Library out there. That was also what started me on the journey of, ooh, let's go visit the presidential libraries.
Hmm.
And now I'm at library number, and now I visited all, now I visited six. I've got like 7 or 8 of them more to go. And 2019 comes. I'm like, okay, that was fun. If my friend has to go to work a couple of those days, okay, that's cool. I will take that time and I will go visit one of the nude resorts. So what I did was I instructed my readers, gave the resorts a phone call and said, listen, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And They said yes. I told them I was a single male. I told them this is my first time coming. Like, hey, okay, cool, fine. We will let you in. We will not let you in. I mean, Aldell's a great place, but their policy is a bit different. And I understand why their policy is different. They want to create a different environment than just, we will accept all comers, and they want to try and maintain more of a balanced ratio, which is fine. I support that. But so I was not able to go to Olive Dell at that time. I would have if they had space open for me. I just wanted to purchase a day pass and see what it was like, give a comparison to. But I went to Glen Eden 3 times. After the first day, I I realized 2 things. First, this is an incredible experience. There is no way that I would ever go swimming ever again in my life if I had to wear a swimsuit.
Yep.
Second thing, every time I go to a nude resort after the first time, I brought my Nintendo Switch with me. That was the second big thing that I learned that first day. Because and the nice thing about the Switch, of course, is that it has the screen, so you don't have to try and hope and pray and worry that they have a television that you can connect your
Yeah.
PlayStation or your Xbox to. Nintendo Switch is self-contained. You can connect it to a screen, but you don't have to.
I gotta stay focused. I'm so ready to ask you more about what games you have on it and stuff like that. And but so the book. I'll be good. The book. So tell me about the book. What is the book about?
So after I left after I left the second day, I was like, okay, I can do this. I now formally included myself, and yes, I am a naturist. Okay, great. Now I want other people to come with me. Okay, sounds good. How do I tell somebody about this? I was like, do I just tell you that I found this really great place and I want you to come? We take off all our clothes and just no, that's not going to work. My friend is going to have a whole lot of different objections to this idea.
Yeah.
Okay. What are these objections? So I began to game out the third as I was driving to and from the resort that third day. What are going to be her objections to this idea? And so it was at that point that I decided, well, I want to tell my friend because she's a great friend to me. And I was like, yeah. So I wrote down these basic ideas of this is. I wrote the fictionalization when I got back home in early December. So that part was finished. I let the idea ruminate for a while of how do I tell my best friend? Do I just go up on a Zoom call like this? Because occasionally we Zoom call. Do I just call her on the phone? Do I tell her while I was there in person? No. A couple of months go by, and in July of 2020, this idea comes to me. I should just write her a letter with all of the things that I want her to know. July 2020 comes along and it's like, no, don't write her a letter, write a book. And a book has well, I like to research, so that's not a problem. Book has the added benefit of I can write down everything that I want to know. And that will be my introduction to here. You should read this. I have greatly enjoyed myself, and I would encourage you to come along as well. Now, the book is designed, and it was always there from the very beginning to go through to deal with naturism just like it is any other community on the planet. That was always there. Because the primary objection that you get from many people who are not part of the naturist community is what? Naturism is uniquely weird. Not just that it's weird, because skydiving is weird.
Yeah.
Why would you jump out of a perfectly good working airplane? I don't engage in that behavior. To me, that's weird. Why would you go hundred? Why would you go miles under the ocean? To me, that's weird. I wouldn't do something like that. As much as I enjoy going outside and watching rocket launches, I would not go into a rocket just for the view. Sorry, that's not a. All of those behaviors to me are weird.
Hmm.
Naturism gets this uniquely weird phrase. And so you can see in my book that the opening paragraph of every chapter is no. The title of every chapter in the opening paragraph is no. Every
Every.
single community is like this. We all have the same basic hallmark of every group. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's a group of Christians and they've got their tenets, and it's a group of criminals and they've got who it is. Whether you agree with them or not, they've all got their they've all got the same hallmarks in common.
Mm.
So I wanted to the whole goal of the book is to invite people to come with me and to dispel this notion that it is somehow uniquely weird and that it's just something for those people over there because I couldn't be a part of that. No, naturism is one of the things that we can all have fun engaging in. It's not just for those people. You may come too.
You're not risking explosions or broken necks or
Right.
or being crushed by the crushing weight of the ocean. We're just talking about not wearing a thing.
Right,
It's
exactly.
yeah. So that's the basic idea of what the book is about. So why should people buy your book? There's no better person on the planet to ask this question than the author. So why should people buy your book?
People should buy my book because it comes at naturalism in a very unique way. It clearly makes the connections to all of these different other communities, all of these different societies, all of these different alliances that we all have in our everyday lives of, oh, I've got a family, you've got a family. That means that I can talk to you somewhat about being a member of a family, and you can understand that in a basic way.
Yeah.
Again, we've got some details that are going to be different, but we can both understand families. We both have jobs. Therefore, we can both understand companies in somewhat of a basic way, even if our roles in those companies are a bit different. So, my goal is to give naturists a way to explain our beliefs to other people.
Mm.
And you can see that the other thing that I tried to do was to give a bunch of citations for all of the controversial material.
I was going to bring
Every
that up. The
con-
footnotes were really good.
yeah, every controversial statement that I make in that book has been in some way footnoted. So when I mentioned that Billy Graham went swimming at the White House, there's a citation to go with that. And he did that with Lyndon Johnson, by the way. And when I mentioned that it was mandatory in public schools for boys to swim naked. There's a citation for that to
Yeah.
go along with that. There's a whole set of articles. There's some pictures. That there is some source material to back me up when I make these controversial claims. So it's not just me
Didn't
talking.
make it up. You
Oh,
actually got it from somewhere reputable. Yeah.
yeah. And so that was the goal. The goal is to give naturalists a way to say, come, try this with us. And if you can't try it with us, know that the objections that you're presenting, other people who are naturalists today have shared your objection. And they are naturalists today. They just gave it they just gave it those two tries and said, listen,
Yeah.
I mean, that first time is, I don't know what I'm getting into. That second time is, well, I've done this before. Now that I've actually tried it for myself, I can see, well, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do this again sometime.
That was the biggest takeaway to me when I went to our local nude resort down here in Louisiana, I guess up here for you, but over here in Louisiana, our local one is Indian Hills. My first time at Hills was in 2017, and the biggest takeaway I had was that, wow, this was much easier and like less groundbreaking than I expected. Like in the best kind of way. Like it was way easier and more normal than I ever expected it to be. So getting back to the book though, there were a few things from the book that I wanted to make sure that we mentioned before we close out. So you talked about health benefits. I wonder if there's anything off the top of your head that you could say are like some classic health benefits, or maybe some unexpected ones that you found in your research. Anything along those lines that you feel like physical, psychological, emotional, like the benefits of naturism.
The classic health benefit that you're going to hear naturalists all over cite is
vitamin D.
The vitamin D.
Every time.
Every single time. You'll hear that and you'll be like, okay. And you have people now who are like, well, I need to get some more vitamin D. Yeah, we just had this worldwide. You might have heard of it. It's like, oh, well, go get some vitamin D. Hello, you just come join us, and we're waiting. We're open.
Yeah, vitamin D is
we want people
with the immune system. It's very good for your immune system.
Yes, we want people. The second thing that I found was that there's some evidence to back up the claim that bras are not a cost-free clothing item.
Yeah.
You hear women all of the time saying how they have to wear them. Well, I take issue with have to, because I don't see any law anywhere saying, oh, you must do this under penalty of jail, death, or fine. So
I actually have a copy of the second edition of Dress to Kill, and I'm going to make a video about it, talking about the whole bras and health issue. So you and I are right together on that one.
So have to always kind of makes me go, what do you mean by have to? Yeah. Second off, you see that it is big in the news now that children are being offered chest binders who believe that they are something that they are not. Mm-hmm. And we know, of course, that that's going to have some negative health effects.
You squeeze anything on your body that tight, and bad things will happen to you physically.
And we know that from when women used to wear corsets. One of their big issues was we're not getting as much oxygen in as we should. And
organ failure. They were literally shaping their internal organs with those things. It was horrible.
So the real question for me that really should be posed to others is, what is the big difference between a chest binder, which many conservatives say that they're against for honorable reasons, because you shouldn't be,
the view at least,
right? Because you shouldn't be trying to.
My head. No, go on. I'm not talking right. Go on.
You shouldn't be trying to make something of yourself that you're not, and you shouldn't be trying to modify yourself in that fashion. Okay, great argument. Well, okay, so what is the real difference between that and a bra?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said how this might be a little bit of I'm going to say this in the bra video, so hopefully I'm not spoiling too much for the subscribers, but one of the things I've said about bras recently is that bras are designed to make women look less human.
Yeah.
What is it that the bra is supposed to do again? Oh, it's supposed to reshape the breast. Okay, so you're making yourself look like a thing and not like a person. Got it. What's the other thing? Oh, it hides the nipple. Humans have nipples. So you're making it look less human with this thing. What's the point?
And oh, by the way, if you are standing up without wearing clothing, you see some external genitalia. Mm-hmm. And that was how God designed us, right? Yeah. I mean, so it's one of those things that's like, well, we really shouldn't. And you've got people all over asking, well, how in the world did they do that? Well, people did without question. Uh-huh. I mean, we have There was a Ben Franklin was one of the big proponents of what he called air baths, which is
Yeah.
basically sitting around in his house
Naked.
without clothing on and with the windows open. And oh my, can hear the shrieks of parents today. What about the children?
Yeah. So
Um,
you also talked about children in your book. We've got about
yes.
minutes left, closer to 9 minutes now. So, couple quick thoughts on naturism and children. In my experience, as soon as people are done talking about the Bible and general impact to society and people in general, the next thing people bring up is this is going to harm children. So, talk about naturism and children. You had a great section in there about that, and I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that here on the interview.
Well, the the issue of naturism and children, many people want to forget our history. We can see that with the left going around destroying statues of figures. We've
Mhm.
all got some issues, but statues shouldn't be destroyed. They shouldn't be replaced. Okay, add another statue if you feel that someone else is worthy of your honor and reverence and 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 your attention. But don't go destroying the past because you don't like it. What I mean by that here is that many people do not know that we used to, in public schools for the longest time, have mandatory nude swimming classes for males. And oh, by the way, in some school districts, females had that choice as well. So I am finding it a really, really difficult argument for people to come up to me and say, well, children shouldn't be naked.
Pretty new idea.
That's actually a pretty new idea. Back in the 1920s, you didn't really have that choice because there was no swimwear, and
Yeah.
children still went to the YMCA and swam all day long. And oh, their policy was swim
To be
naked, and
naked
their policy
because the
didn't.
swimsuits were going to clog the filters.
Right.
Yeah.
And their policy didn't change until after the school policy did. And the school's policy, again, formally ended in the 70s, but you still have some stragglers with some individual anecdotes say that we still swam nude after that. Okay,
Yeah.
I accept that. And of course, the whole goal is to say, we've done this before.
Yeah.
We haven't shown the whole societal impact of how exactly it harms children. No one wants children to be harmed. I understand that. I get that. I support that. The only
Yeah.
question is how do you go about doing it?
Yeah.
Naturalists, naturalists argue that the best way you protect children is by exposing them to naturism, so that they understand that you can be naked without having a sexual element added to it. And
Yeah.
this is somewhat similar to why people advocate for children to receive swimming lessons. Because why? You don't want that child to panic and freak out and have an issue if he happens to find himself in a pool.
So that if he's in the water, it's not a novel problem. It's not a novel
Right.
experience. You've already
It's
prepared
not a
him
novel
for
experience.
that
He can
scenario.
at least swim to the wall and wait for someone to come get him.
Yeah.
Naturism, same way. You have experienced this here, and if you want to come back and experience more of it, this place is open to you.
Yeah.
You have experience. So now if someone does go ahead and try and harm you in a way that is inappropriate for your age without your consent, you know that is inappropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't have parents saying, "Well, I don't want to teach my child to swim; they might drown." Yeah, but that's always an issue.
Yeah. You wouldn't
I mean,
say, oh, we're not going to train our military recruits because they might get hurt in the training.
yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't train them, they will die.
And oh, by the way, there are reports of even strong swimmers drowning. You can go and find them. freak accidents happen. So just because you are a strong swimmer does not rule out the rare cases of you will be 100% protected. No,
That's true
naturism,
of like pretty much every kind of preparation, no matter what you do.
right?
At some point, the preparation will fail on some level, somewhere.
Right. But naturism allows you to be better prepared for. Again, we hope that no children get harmed. That's not what we're going for. But in order to visit a nude resort, you have to go through. The resort has to know who you are because you give your ID.
Right. Yes, there's an approval process. Often, actually, at family resorts, there's a background check.
Yeah.
So to make sure that the wrong people don't get in. And besides that, there's a whole network of people who are constantly scanning. When I was at Cypress Cove, everybody was constantly looking out for everybody. If something happened, everyone noticed. So if there was something going on at Cypress Cove, for example, that was inappropriate toward a child, it would last tops a couple of seconds and doing something about it right away. Even if it's not their kid, they will go over and they'll say something to you. They'll stop the situation. They'll tell the staff, and you'll be out of there in a matter of minutes.
You will be out of there. Yes, sir.
Protecting kids in naturist resorts.
I mean, so it's not like we need to be at the vanguard of these issues because we have something to add to our society.
Yeah.
I mean,
just about out of time. So I wanted to make sure I got this in. There's this phrase you use a few times in your books and in your book, and I really liked it. I want you to talk about it just briefly before we close out. What is a bona fide try?
The reason why I use the term and I use the term bona fide try to mean the 2 days that people visit a nude resort. The reason why I say 2 is because in order to get a valid data set, you have to have at least 2 tries of anything. Scientists run their tests multiple times just to make sure that it's a valid result. How do we know that you get hurt if you jump off the top of the Empire State Building? We don't until at least 2 people try it. I mean, we don't know a lot of things until we try them, and naturism is the same way. So
repeatable results, that's science.
Right.
Yeah.
So you try it twice, not just once. I mean, because one time you can have a great experience. I mean, there are all sorts of miraculous accounts, and there's all sorts of accounts of amazing things happening once, but you can't replicate that.
The same with terrible experiences as well. I've heard stories of people trying naturism. They have a bad experience the first time, and they never do it again. It's like, well, you didn't really vet the place that you went to, and you ended up with a bad experience. But if you did it a second time, you might have a better experience at a better place with better people. So I think that trying it twice has merit.
And of course, the Bible suggests that we have 2 witnesses. If we're going to charge people with the crime, if you're going to charge an elder with wrongdoing, you need to go at least get 2 people to say, I saw this happen. At least 2 people, not just one, because one person can make up anything.
Multiple witnesses, I think, is a pretty good concept. And I think it's interesting the way that you're taking the concept and you're broadening it, not in terms of 2 witnesses, but like you're making it more abstract and applying it to more things, which I think is a cool way of looking at it. Yeah. So Zoom is telling me we have less than 1 minute. I want to say it's been a pleasure talking to you today, Michael. I'm glad that I have the book. We're going to have a link down in the description if I can manage it to the book. The book is about $15 on paperback, which is pretty reasonable. Do you happen to remember what the Kindle costs?
I think it's still $3.99.
Okay, so it'll be something low like that, pretty affordable. Thanks again. I want to say bye before we get forced off of Zoom. So good talking to you. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, well, as you can see, that's it for today's interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Like I said, the link to Michael's book is going to be in the link in the description below. But with that, it's pretty much the end of the video, so I think you know what time it is. This episode of Mudwalkers is brought to you by my generous supporters over on Patreon. Shout out to Naturism, Todd, Jacob, Brian, Jay Sweets, Edward, John S., Skating Aimlessly, Joseph, Charlie, Lionheart, Liam, Adam, Edward T., Nate, J. Good, Cyan, John W., Clifton, Trev, Scott, Steve, Ed G., none here, Alan, Andrew, Danny, Keaton, and Martin. Thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon. I can't thank you enough for all that you do. If you're not already a member on Patreon, check out the link in the description below. We have very affordable tiers. The $5 tier gets early access to all of my YouTube and Vimeo content. The $10 tier gets early access to all my content and also Patreon-specific content, things like behind-the-scenes stories and personal stuff. And then also the $10 tier also gets a monthly Zoom conversation with me. All the patrons have access to that Zoom conversation. It's a nice big circular get-together. We call it the Zoom Hangout. And we get to swap stories and share ideas and just generally have a good time. It's nice. With that, that's the end of the video. I think I'm going to get out of the heat now, and I will see you in the next one.